Rage, an in-depth look at rage in Werewolf, the Apocalypse 5th edition. Rage is much more than anger. It is a fury that grows only within the guru. The guru can harness this rage and focus it into a power unto itself. The guru can only hold so much rage before it needs to be released, and can be done in several different ways. During rites, the guru can channel their rage to empower the rite. When activating gifts, they use their rage to invoke them. Sometimes this causes them to lose rage when doing so. They can also lose rage when transforming into one of their supernatural forms, especially their war form, the Krenos. When they leave a frenzy, the guru will lose all their rage, making them lose the wolf. Whenever a guru loses all their rage, they call this losing the wolf. Without any rage, the guru can't change to any form other than their breed form. They cannot do anything that requires a rage roll, as they have none to spend, essentially making them as close to mundane as they possibly can. There's only one way besides mystical means to regain rage once a guru finds themselves in this state, and that is to howl at the moon. Mystical means is understood to mean that getting mad or any of the normal ways to gain rage do not work. It would take a rite, gift, or other mystical way to gain a rage point. Once done, the guru has no longer lost the wolf and can gain rage normally. Gaining rage for a guru is much easier than losing it. Rage can be gained during thematic story moments, such as seeing a loved one in danger or other dramatic moments. The most dramatic gaining of rage is when the guru frenzies by choice or not, and gives way to their rage. When a guru enters frenzy, their rage automatically goes to 5, which is the highest that it can go. Rage can also be gained by howling at the moon the first time in any given night. Provocation, harm, and humiliation will also cause the guru to gain a rage, but these do not continue to do so after the first rage is gained. Rites or rite-like practices can also help a guru gain a rage, such as spending a scene getting psyched up, performing a tribe or auspice-related activity, ranging from a solemn retelling of past grievances to picking fights at a soccer match, can yield 1 or 2 points at the storyteller's discretion. Now that you know a little about gaining and losing rage, let us talk about the mechanics so we can discuss the rage economy and its importance. Rage ranges from 0 to 5. With each rage dice that you have, you replace one of your regular dice in each of your dice pools when making rolls. If you make a roll and a 1 or 2 come up, then that die is considered a brutal result. Brutal results are the only dice that cannot be re-rolled when spending willpower. On its own, a single brutal result is simply treated as a failure, but 2 or more on a single test yields a brutal outcome. A brutal outcome causes a test to fail, usually with something being wrecked, harmed, or destroyed, unless the aim of the test was to cause damage or injury, in which case a brutal outcome yields 4 additional successes like a critical success would. So, if you are trying to talk your way out of trouble and roll a brutal outcome, bad things will happen. First of all, you fail the roll to talk your way out of it, and then secondly, your rage gets the better of you. You can do a multitude of things depending on what your storyteller deems appropriate. I prefer to take control of the character and explain the effects of the brutal outcome. As you are explaining as to why you were in the closed business to the security guard, something about the way he is looking at you begins to make you feel uncomfortable. It is the same look that your drunken stepdad looked at you before he accused you of doing something to get himself out of trouble. The memory boils your rage, and you snap, quickly pouncing on him with a fury of blows. On the other side of the same scenario, if the goal were to knock the security guard unconscious instead of talking your way out of trouble, the attack roll with the brutal outcome would be treated like a critical success and add 4 to the total number of successes. Rage economy. Now that you know the dangers of having a high rage and the risks of having a low rage, we should discuss the rage economy. Both the storyteller and the player are responsible for rage gains. A player is encouraged to suggest a gain whenever they feel it's appropriate, just as the storyteller shouldn't be afraid to apply it liberally and thematically. The rate at which characters gain rage is also a powerful storyteller tool. Stories in which rage is always available tend toward the more action-oriented and violent, whereas a lower rate of rage gain is better for evoking a sense of desperation, where any exercise of rage jeopardizes the wolf within. A player should make a comment to a storyteller if they wish to lower their rage. Attempting to just use gifts constantly in an attempt to lose rage could aggravate the associated spirits of that gift. Switching forms in order to burn rage could cause aggravated damage for doing it too quickly. By talking to the storyteller, they could make suggestions on how to lower their rage. For example, spending a scene talking with their touchstones can lower a point. If the time is available, the storyteller could also suggest alternate methods to remove a rage point, like having the player relax alone for the evening. The frenzy. The Krynos form is the traditional werewolf form of the Guru. It is the big gun when a Guru is done talking. When in Krynos form, Guru always feel under threat of losing control. At the start of a turn, if they didn't kill something in the previous turn, a werewolf in Krynos form must spend 1 willpower point to avoid going into frenzy. While ordinary rage can make them lash out in the moment, frenzy is a complete extended loss of control as the werewolf unleashes their full fury on everything around them. The Guru can always choose to frenzy if they feel that it is the only response to overwhelming odds, or involuntary if their willpower is completely depleted and cannot pay to fend off the frenzy. The storyteller can also call for a frenzy test in cases of extreme provocation, such as any harming of touchstones, in which case a willpower test must be made against a difficulty of 2 or 3 in Krynos form. Frenzy effects. When a Guru enters a frenzy, their rage immediately increases to 5 and they shift to Krynos. They then mercilessly attack anything perceived as a threat, starting with whoever or whatever provoked the frenzy if applicable. If anyone is attacking them, the werewolf must try to close the distance and engage the target with their natural weapons. If no one is attacking, they try to pursue those who flee, and thereafter they assail any bystanders. The Guru does not perform any defensive acts, such as taking cover or attempting dodge tests against ranged weapons, but does attempt to regenerate health, making rage checks as normal to do so. While in frenzy, the Guru becomes immune to health-based penalties such as impairment, short of dismemberment, and they receive a 3 dice bonus to resisting mental gifts or gift-like effects, such as vampiric powers, unless the powers specifically affect a target in frenzy. The werewolf cannot themselves use gifts, however, and must keep acting out frenzy, or the player must yield control of the character to the storyteller. The player may not use willpower in any way, such as re-rolling dice. Essentially, the Guru is a rage-fueled killing machine, only able to stop once their enemies are defeated, and even that is not a guarantee. Stopping a frenzy. Once every perceived threat is dead or silenced, the player can make a willpower test at difficulty 2 to leave frenzy. If they choose not to or the test fails, the frenzy resumes until no one, but the frenzying Guru is left standing. This means for a Guru that have depleted their willpower, they are in loads of trouble if they enter a frenzy. At that point, the only way to escape frenzy is for their rage to drop to 0 or for the scene to come to an end. Certain gifts and other abilities can also end the frenzy. No matter how the frenzy ends, the Guru reverts to their natural form and has their rage set to 0, causing them to lose the wolf. 3 storyteller tips regarding rage. 1. Like always, do not let the rules get in the way of your story or the character's fun. Since rolls usually are made when there is a chance to fail, having a normal conversation shouldn't trigger a roll. As a storyteller, you can make them roll if their rage is high to remind them that there is a risk of doing mundane things with a high rage. It is the whole reason it would be near impossible for a Guru to hold any kind of job. Also, if something happens that you feel the player should gain or lose rage, do it. 2. Pay attention to your player's needs. If they seem to be trying to get rage, give it to them. Sometimes rolls go against us and losing rage becomes an issue. At other times it seems hard to get rid of once gained. The best practice is pay attention to what your players are doing or just ask them outright if unsure. 3. Don't be afraid to call for a frenzy check when something dramatic happens. Even if a player only has 2 rage, they can frenzy. One of my players has their daughter as a mentor. She was being tortured by a cult of Fenris, and my player witnessed it. He immediately went to Krynos and attacked. I still had him make a frenzy check just because I thought it appropriate. He role-played it himself, but I kicked it up a notch, reminding him that there was risk of him frenzying. I hope that you were able to learn something new, or at least pick up on something that you can use in your own games.